The football team is on a streak, one they haven't had in 2 seasons, aka a winning streak.
And Temple opens its Hall of Fame doors for the class of 2020, albeit 1 year late. Plus,
live from the Liacouras Center, we will introduce to you Temple's newest athletic director, coming from the Lone Star State to the Keystone State. And it all starts on a brand new edition of OwlSports Update, starting right now.
Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of OwlSports Update. I'm Luke Milai, she's Lindsay Moppert, and today we've got the 12 days of Temple athletics with 4 sports, 3 guests, 2 anchors,
and 1 new athletic director. That's our breaking news today, as there is a new man in charge of Temple's 19 varsity teams.
Inside the Nest reporter Eric Jessberger is pulling double duty today as he's covering the big announcement.
Eric is live at the Liacouras Center. Eric, the timing shouldn't come as a huge surprise. 4 months after Temple gets a new president, one of the first big hires is a new athletic director.
Thanks, Lindsay and Luke. The name is Mr. Arthur Johnson, who comes to Temple from the University of Texas and takes over the role of Fran Dunphy, who filled in and served as active AD for about a year and a half now. The hiring of Mr. Johnson comes in a critical time in the AAC conference, where 18 of the 19 total teams in Temple play in the conference, and on the horizon, at least 3 teams are leaving the AAC for the Big 12, with a lot of questions circulating about the survival of the conference and how it will impact Temple athletics. Mr. Johnson had a lot of big questions to answer heading into the year 2022.
When asked why Temple, I wanted to lead an athletic program, and over time, I wanted it to fit a certain profile, because we were really happy in Austin, Texas. When I started my research, I quickly discovered in Temple a large, comprehensive R1 university with a comprehensive, broad-based athletics program in a large metropolitan area with a diverse culture. My initial introduction to Temple University while growing up in South Georgia was while the late, great Hall of Fame coach John Chaney was leading the men's basketball program. Basketball has carried the torch by being in the top 5 in wins of all time, and it's the soul of this university in North Philadelphia.
Johnson is the 11th athletic director in Temple's history, taking over for longtime educator and men's basketball head coach Fran Dunphy. Mr. Johnson has spent over 2 decades in athletic administration, spending 6 years at his alma mater, Georgia, before returning to Texas for his second stint in 2011 as the assistant AD for football operations. For more on this story, we bring in Inside the Nest anchor Ray Dunn. Ray, it's a very hefty resume for the new athletic director in Mr. Johnson. What does Mr. Johnson bring to the table for Temple athletics?
Looking at that resume, you have to go right to the top, to the relevant experience, and look at the school. The University of Texas is a prestigious organization. It's amongst the best in terms of collegiate athletics, and that goes all the way up to the administration. That experience there, taking it to Temple, understanding what it means to have the resources at Temple, and adjusting from that Texas time will be key for Arthur Johnson. Also, the work in facilities, being in urban space without as much space as some land-grant universities, it's important for Arthur Johnson to understand what he has to work with in this community and build those facilities without disrupting the local community.
And more specifically, in those 2 decades in athletic administration, Mr. Johnson spent the more recent years in facilities and operations. Ray, what do you deem the biggest challenge Mr. Johnson has taking over the athletic department?
I think starting with what he said in the press conference, the pandemic is obviously your biggest concern, your biggest challenge from day one, looking right ahead. But down the line, I think name, image, and likeness, getting Temple University competitive with the rest of the collegiate landscape in terms of NIL is going to be huge, and even more important in terms of recruiting over the next decade. The work they put in over this year to get themselves up to speed in name, image, and likeness is going to be his biggest challenge and is going to pay the most dividends for Temple going forward.
Ray, thank you for the insight. It's going to be exciting to see how the new athletic director begins his next chapter in athletic administration as Temple's newest athletic director. Reporting live from the Leocore Center, I'm Eric Jesberger. OwlSports Update. Lindsay and Luke, back to you in Studio 3.
Great analysis, as always, from the ITN crew. Now, new AD Arthur Johnson is walking into a football program that's on a bit of a roll lately. Back-to-back victories and the beginning of conference play has the Owls off to a soaring start.
Yes, Temple is coming off a huge upset win against Memphis, but we can't get ahead of ourselves just yet. Let's jump right into this past weekend's homecoming takeover leading up to game time. For the remainder of the regular season, Temple will take on a new conference team each week. And with a 6-11 record in the AAC these past two seasons, the Owls used a strong defense to change that trend in that takedown of Memphis on Saturday. OwlSports Update's Max Gretzula has more.
No matter how you draw it up, homecoming weekend was a major success for the Temple Owls in their win over Memphis. And it really started on the defensive end for Temple. Down 17-7, the Owls used defense to spark the offense. Junior cornerback Keyshawn Paul forced and recovered a fumble in Memphis territory. This led to quarterback DeJuan Mathis throwing his second of 3 touchdown passes on the day.
Just stay family, pick each other up no matter what. If somebody make a mistake, just pick them up. Everybody not perfect, so just family that keep us together.
Defense was the story as Paul continued to contribute in a major way, totaling 4 solo tackles and a blocked extra point in the third quarter. The Owls had 3 sacks from 3 different players, all occurring in the fourth quarter, including William Kwekwu and Evandy Rigby. Temple may have failed to convert multiple fourth down opportunities, but the Owls were able to keep the pressure on Memphis as they recovered 2 fumbles and gave their offense a spark.
Offense met some adversity, defense did. Special teams, missed the 1 field goal, so a little adversity for them too. But certainly proud of them.
Coming off of their first conference win of the year, the defense will need to perform at an even higher level when the Owls play visitor to the 5th-ranked Cincinnati Bearcats next Friday night. Reporting from Lincoln Financial Field, I'm Max Gretzula, OwlSports Update.
Their upset win over Memphis, the Owls will fly out of the nest for the first time in 3 weeks as they hit the road to take on the 5th-ranked Cincinnati Bearcats Friday night. Cincinnati is coming off a major win itself with a 24-13 victory over 14th-ranked Notre Dame last Saturday in the South Bend. Temple opens up as a 29-point underdog and will look to pull another shocking upset for the 2nd week in a row.
Yeah, for sure. We're putting a great team, and I expect it to be a good game. We coming from a good win, so I expect our offense to, just pick it up more and just do what we're supposed to do. And for us as running backs, we just going, we're going to get in the game and do what we got to do.
We have some explosive guys now. Like these guys can change the game if you let them. If we give them that room and that little bit of an inch for them to make a big play.
This is a Friday night deal. Both teams will be looking to extend their hot streak with kickoff scheduled for 7 p.m. live on ESPN and 97.5 The Fanatic. The Owls are headed into the game with a record of 3-2, while Cincy sits undefeated at 4-0.
It's break time, and we're talking next about a topic that impacts so many of Temple's athletes. We'll take a deeper look into the pluses and minuses of the transfer portal and why it could be a make-or-break situation for some players.
And I'm AJ Patel. The Temple Hall of Fame has 12 new members, but the honor comes 1 year late for the class of 2020. I'll explain why on the other side.
Welcome back to OwlSports Update. We spend so much time talking about the talented freshmen on North Broad, like DeJuan Mathis and Julianne Kopeck, the stars of tomorrow. But how often do we look back and appreciate the stars of yesterday? Last week, we saw some former Owls get recognized for their contributions while on North Broad. Let's go to OwlSports Update's AJ Patel over at the studio set. Hey, AJ.
Thanks, Luke. Temple hosted a gala for the university's newly inducted Hall of Fame class of 2020 this past Friday. The class of 2020 includes 12 individuals in addition to the 1992 national champion fencing team. And it's the 2020 thanks to, of course, COVID, which postponed this event 1 year ago. The gala included so many from so many different sports during so many different decades on North Broad. One of these individuals is women's basketball star Camisha Hairston, who later went on to play in the WNBA. During her time in Philly, Hairston was a 3-year starter, appearing in all 31 games her freshman year. 3 administrators were also highlighted, including longtime basketball announcer Merv Jones, who passed away in the summer of 2020.
He went on to win 2 Emmys. It was here that he mentored student athletes and was mentored by Tina Salone Green, John Chaney, and countless of other coaches. It was here that he would volunteer for the Sunny Hill League, and that would lead him to announcing here at Temple. With his distinctive style that we all know and miss.
Notable inductions from the class of 2020 includes men's gymnasts such as Darren Gerlich to women's track star Afia Brown. Highlighted on this list is football coach Al Golden, who flipped the page for the whole program. Winless before his arrival, Coach Golden turned the Owls into a bowl team in just 3 seasons. And there was the 1992 National Fencing Team. These former Owls accomplished a prestigious feat, were later introduced to the Temple community at halftime of the Memphis vs. Temple football game this past Saturday. Reporting from the studio set, I'm AJ Patel. Lindsay, back to you on the desk.
Thanks, AJ. Not all Temple athletes start and finish their college careers here. In recent years, the transfer portal has undoubtedly received the reputation of providing a seamless transition for student athletes who want to transfer from one school to another. But unfortunately for some players, their high expectations for the portal do not always work out in their favor.
Joseph Hooper is not only a senior offensive lineman for Temple, but he's also the poster boy for the NCAA's transfer portal.
I've been to 3 different programs, one in California, one in Kansas, and my last one here in Philadelphia.
The transfer portal allows players to announce that he or she is ready to move on to a new college with a new team in search of new possibilities.
Non-stop phone calls, non-stop, just talking to people, and like I said, the days went by so fast because as soon as I put down my phone, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. I'm going to sleep now.
The end goal for many players is to find a new home with more playing time and maybe even a path to professional opportunities after college.
I've been taught a lot of different ways. I know a lot of different techniques, a lot of different schemes, and it's helped my football IQ tremendously.
And although there are many advantages that come along with entering the transfer portal, it's extremely competitive, and many players do not receive an offer from most or any of the 254 Division I scholarship programs. And for these players, the transfer portal ends up in one of two different ways: settling for a lesser program or ending up with no program at all.
In fact, sophomore quarterback Real Mitchell is living this reality. Mitchell left Iowa State for Temple in 2020, but the redshirt sophomore never found his footing at Temple. And now 1 year later, he's leaving the nest and entering the portal in search of his third team in 4 years. That's why a well-thought-out plan is crucial, even though no plan is foolproof.
My mom and I put a spreadsheet together to compare my stats over my career to other people in transfer portals.
The Owls have also lost big talent through the portal, but it's a door that swings both ways. In all, Temple has 21 transfers on its current roster.
Having that feeling of like, wow, I was actually able to accomplish it.
It's an accomplishment for Hooper that had many forks in the road, all thanks to the portal.
And some starting transfer players like Dwan Mathis and Ahmad Anderson Jr. are prime examples of why entering the portal may just be worth all of the risks that come along with the process.
We're up against a break, but don't go anywhere. We have so much left to cover. Volleyball, field hockey, and a brand new segment, all on the other side.
Find out more when OwlSports Update continues in 90 seconds. Welcome back to OwlSports Update. The Temple volleyball team dropped its fourth straight match in conference play after facing the Houston Cougars on Sunday. The Owls played this one in the Blacktops. Both teams came out strong, but Houston took an early lead in the first set to pull away. In the second go-around, it was Temple dominating the Cougars, but the visitors eventually stacked points up on the board and took the Owls down in yet another set. In the final set of the match, Houston dominated the Owls and ran away with a 3-0 win.
It was a rough weekend for the Owls, only winning 1 of 7 total sets. The lone positive, Mireille Bullock-Bashi, put a combined 25 kills on the board, giving her the second most on the team. The losses dropped the Owls to 0-4 in conference, 4-11 overall.
In the last 5 seasons combined, Temple field hockey went 28-62, 34 games below 500. Now in 2021, the Owls are 6-4, their best start in 7 years. And much of this success has to do with a large and talented freshman class. OwlSports Updates, Gil Rosen explains.
If experience is overrated, the Temple field hockey team is right where it needs to be. 30 players on the roster. 13 are freshmen.
They are kind of dogs, all of them. They have this very dogged mentality.
And it's translated into goals. 9 of the team's 13 goals this season are from the sticks of freshmen. Julianne Kopeck leads the way with 5. But others are chirping in. That includes midfielder Devin Kinzel. She currently has 1 goal in the season that helped her name Big East Freshman and Temple Athlete of the Week.
Rolls in, and it's 2-1 in favor of Temple.
To trust the process, like we've been working really hard since day one, and I know this team has been working hard even before we got here, and we just need to keep doing what we're practicing and taking every game and just leaving everything we have out there.
And it's not only the 13 rookies on the team. The Owls are also led by a rookie coach, and the newest seems to have the Owls using their hunger to overcome the lack of experience.
They're going to work, and try to get, their job done and whatever is required of them kind of out in the forefront. So, I respect that as a coach. I respect that as a person. It definitely as a competitor.
Fatisse and the freshman class have been exceeding expectations so far. They look for their first tournament appearance since 1992. If they want to get there, they got to win the Big East. The closest they come in recent years was a loss to UConn in the 2014 finals.
And it gets harder on Friday when the Owls travel to Providence, a team that hasn't lost this year at home. Reporting from the Temple Sports Complex, I'm Gil Rosen, OwlSports Update.
Now, the Mealy and Moppert Minute. Each week, Lindsay and I will highlight a pair of athletes from one of the fall sports. This week, it's field hockey. And I'll start the countdown with the woman guarding the cage, Megan Ragusa. We heard Gil talk about how the talented freshman class flipped the team's losing ways around, and rightfully so. But Ragusa is another new piece to this puzzle. The graduate transfer from UNC currently leads the conference with 4 shutouts. She also tacks on 3 Big East weekly honors. Her skill isn't just felt on the East Coast either. She is 13th in the nation out of 76 eligible goalies with a 1.14 goals allowed average. Ragusa is the real deal.
Now, Luke, that's a great pick, but with about 30 seconds left on the clock, I'm going to go with a familiar name around here, Julianne Kopeck. I've talked about it once, and I'll say it again. She's a freshman multi-sport D1 athlete who absolutely dominates on the field. Now, if that isn't enough to prove it, take a look at her stats. She scored 5 goals in just 10 games. Kopeck had the only 2 goals against Merrimack, as well as the individual goals scored against both Bucknell and Delaware. And on top of it all, she's a 2-time Big East Weekly Honor Roll recipient. I think I've made my point. Julianne Kopeck is undoubtedly what some call double trouble. And now, as we head into our last break of the show, make sure to stick around.
Next up, we'll be hitting the links, where the Temple golf team is on a roll-in-one with big help from their non-regional recruits. OwlSports Update will be right back. Welcome back to OwlSports Update. The city of Philadelphia may not seem like the most attractive setting for a Division I golf program, but the men's golf team at Temple thrives on bringing in nationwide talent. OwlSports Update's Matt Rainier has more.
The Temple Owls have found their footing to start the golf season with a win at the Cornell Invitational. And the team's success is due in large part to their non-regional recruits.
So we're starting to spread our wings that way, and that really helps our program going forward. So we're getting better talent.
And it's right here at Plymouth meeting at the 1912 Club that the Temple Owls prepare for the 2021 season. And this club is certainly a draw for recruits coming up from southern states such as Florida and North Carolina, especially considering the tough schedule the team undergoes every single season.
And I'm a big believer, whether you live in Florida or Philadelphia, we want to have kids take time off.
While Coach Quinn continues to recruit new Temple Owls, he also sees progress in recruiting top players to a non-traditional golf region. And this list of non-local players include freshman Jake Nasey of Florida and sophomore Chase Graham of North Carolina.
You know, every year we're just getting a higher quality of player. You know, it takes time to, to develop a program in the way that you want. And as you said earlier about getting kids coming to the Northeast, we have he's going to be a red shirt this year, but Jake is from Florida as well.
And this goal to get higher quality players has been shown so far in the team's performance this season. Reporting from the 1912 Club, I'm Matt Rainier, OwlSports Update.
This weekend is a jammed-packed schedule for the Owls. On Thursday, the women's soccer team will take on the ECU Pirates. Then on Friday, the field hockey team flies over to Providence to face off against the Friars in their 4th conference game of the year. Volleyball faces off against ECU, and football heads west to Ohio to take on 5th-ranked Cincinnati. Moving over to Saturday, men's soccer will host South Florida, and wrapping up the weekend on Sunday, field hockey will take on the Lehigh Mountain Hawks, and volleyball closes it all out against Cincinnati. Get all of that because there will be a quiz later.
If you're taking the quiz, this is a good way to study up. Follow us on social at OwlSports Update on Twitter and Instagram. Don't forget to tune in to Inside the Nest on Tuesday at 12 as Jackson and Ray recap the matchup with Cincinnati. Then OwlSports Update returns next Thursday with Sage Hurley and Josh Safran hosting an all-new episode. So many sports and so many guests, and now we are just about out of time.
For Luke Mealy, I'm Lindsay Moppert. Have a great day, everyone.